I had no idea what happened. They were going into their case.
It's just one of those, something with camera on.
What went down? What's going on? Yep. Yes. It's just not gonna happen. There's a number. Yeah, but there's a box. I didn't know. It's about 6, about 10 stories. I'll call the meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're gonna start the meeting a little different this week. Instead of doing the minutes first, we're gonna start with the US 30 coalition.
Mark, you want to introduce them?
Okay, as I've been sitting on this since the departure of Rick. We have got Jeff Almer on Zoom. He's the mayor of Warsaw. He's leading the coalition these days. Beneath him there on the screen is Lori Maudlin. She's one of the consultants to the coalition.
Then
He's been acting as
I'm the proxy.
Yeah.
For the, with Mark on the coalition.
and basically we're here because we're at the point where Starke County is the only holdout as far as being a full dues paying member of the coalition.
And Mayor Delmer, maybe you can give a quick update of where things are. I know
Sure. Sure, thank you very much. We appreciate taking your time tonight. We'll try and be as efficient as possible. I've got a 6 o'clock council meeting. We're going to dive into budget. So I got about 25 minutes here to hopefully answer your questions. We came up, Lori and I, and I'm sorry, Lori Maudlin is our consultant from Appian. Lori has been with us since at least we formed our group back in 2016. US 30 Coalition is 7 counties from Allen up to Porter, includes all the counties in the US 30 corridor. So what we'd like to do is just give you a little bit of a brief overview of what we've done and where we're at right now and where the project stands, and hopefully have plenty of time for questions. Essentially, US 30 has been functioning in the last 10 years as an interstate, but it is not an interstate. The volume of traffic, the volume of truck traffic continues to increase. The safety statistics are not good. We continue to have increases in accident rates, and I know in our county, the traffic counts continue to rise, as does the percentage of truck traffic. I really need to get too much into that, other than the numbers are telling the story there. The coalition has been advocating for a safe solution to the problem. And we feel that a freeway solution is the only way to not only improve safety, but also improve traffic flow, to improve economic development along the corridor. By making it a safer route, it's certainly going to increase traffic, more traffic, which will provide plenty of opportunity to our communities to attract new businesses, but also our existing businesses provide safer ways in and out for your customers as well as your employees. Last year in February 2021, the governor's office and INDOT agreed to study the problem formally with a PEL study. The PEL is a planning and environmental linkages study. The route will be studied from the Ohio state line all the way to State Road 49, including all 7 counties. Interestingly enough, that year, the state also agreed to put a new interchange in at Flaw Road in Allen County to accommodate a new Amazon plant. That interchange will actually go to construction in 2024. The US 30 Coalition really became a greater advocate to not only study the problem, but with road funding that has become available and the state's commitment to improving safety at Flaw Road in Allen County, we felt like trying to improve. There's about 4 other interchanges and or overpasses that would go along with this freeway design. And as of last week, the state has put those projects, given them designation numbers, and are actually putting them, scheduling them. Some of those projects will start in 2027. So those freeway projects in Allen County include overpasses, interchanges, and some road closures, all consistent with freeway improvements, and again, stimulated by federal transportation dollars. So the freeway is coming to US 30 and is actually is here. Again, with all the activity starting in Allen County. Right now, the rest of the route is focused on the planning and environmental linkages study. I was able to speak with the INDOT Chief of Staff just this morning, Chris Creighton. The study has begun. Later this month, representatives from Kosciuszko and Whitley County will meet with the engineers and present their vision of US 30 in their communities in the future. And then public meetings will begin. Chris told me this morning that towards the end of this month, beginning of next month, there will be a lot of marketing and information put out to all the counties about these programs. And essentially what a PEL does is it comes into your community and it evaluates the roadway through your corridor in your county, and we'll look at the safety concerns. We'll look at environmental concerns, but a big part of the PEL is to meet with the community, meet with the leaders, meet with the stakeholders, to sit down and look and try and understand what the vision in your county is for US 30. And with the project starting at the eastern end of the highway, there will continue to be improvements made working their way potentially towards the west. How these projects are done, what's done in your community, a big part of it has to do with your readiness to meet with the NDOT commission, or excuse me, the NDOT folks and the consultants. So the US 30 coalition has been working with communities locally to try and help them sit down and look at their needs and vision what they feel US 30 will appear to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So I'm here to ask today if you would certainly consider supporting the US 30 coalition. You've had representation since we've started, and we've appreciated that. We know how important it is that the coalition be unified as we advocate to the state for this project. And I think we've been very successful. And it's shown with the construction work that's starting in the east end of the county, and now continuing with this PEL, which should take 18 to 24 months to complete throughout the corridor there. As far as the funds, it's a $12,000 a year per county. I know some counties will split it up with, if there's cities and towns along the route, they'll help. It's that $12,000 is an amount that can be spread out between county and other local units of government. Each county has 2 members on the coalition, voting members, and we're going to be looking at adding a 3rd member, someone from the business industry side of it that is potentially a stakeholder along the highway. So we'll be adding a 3rd representative, basically someone that you all will choose to get involved as well. We meet once a month via Zoom, and again, we've been very busy for the last couple of years as there's been a tremendous amount of momentum for this project. So with that, Lori, I'd like you just to add anything maybe I didn't say just right, and anything you want to add. And then I think it's important to take your questions. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to say something. I just wanted to add a quick comment that the coalition is certainly not wanting to come in and dictate what US 30 should look like in each community. Every community decides that for themselves, how it best will function. And then the coalition takes all of these plans and puts it into one comprehensive view of US 30. It is the main street for a lot of communities, and we want it to function well. And as the mayor said, really provide that safety going forward. I don't believe the mayor mentioned, but this PEL study, the PEL study, NDOT views that as the result of that really will be the guiding principle for US 30 for the foreseeable future. So it's not something that once it's done in a couple of years, they'll come back and look again. They want this to be the plan. So it's very important to be involved in just those discussions and to know what your community would like to see happen. And with that, I'll just turn it over for questions.
I have several. I'm Todd Linebaum, counselor. I live on close to US 30 in Hamlet. I work for a consultant firm as well, so I'm quite familiar with the NDOT, the wheels of NDOT, how they work. So the first project to be let is probably going to be 15 years. I'm going to guess that's going to be directly involved with this PEL study. What does Starke County get for all those years paying our money in? What do we get out? What do we get out of that?
Well, I'm not sure that you're going to be paying for 15 years. You know, what we're trying to do is the advocacy that we've created and the work that we've done in each individual county is something that there's a cost to that. And we're just asking for kind of an even support amongst the counties for that. We're not sure. We can see a few years down the road. We don't know if our advocacy will be required for how long. Maybe once the PEL study is done, maybe we don't meet near as much. Maybe we don't need the 2 consultants that we have full-time, but at this point, we're in probably the most critical phase of this thing. The state has recognized that it's a problem, and I mean, we certainly are, by advocating for it, we want, just like Lori said, for the communities to set their future. But it requires a pretty fair amount of work, and it's work that we're certainly wanting to be involved in. You know, we want every county to again guide their own future. But I don't know how to answer your question as far as for the next 15 years.
I guess I assume then what I gathered out of this, that the funding that we pay in all the other counties goes to fund the work that consultants do. Is that correct?
Yes, that's all it goes for.
Do you know, is there been any major plan by NDOT as far as any projects that plan long range? I know there's nothing on the 18-month at all. I mean, do they have a projection? Has it been funded by the state or projected to be funded by the state in any way, shape, or form?
Well, I'm going to let Lori answer that, but the PEL has been funded by the
I understand the PL, but the PEL, that doesn't mean there's going to be construction in 5 years or 10 years. I mean, they tried to redo US 31 for 30 years before they got it done.
There's a
It's not like
project.
it's gonna happen in 5 minutes.
I know there's a project at Flaw Road that is scheduled to and is funded for 2024. And as I mentioned, those 4 projects in Allen County, I believe, are set for 2027. Lori, can you detail that a little bit?
Absolutely, yes. The rest of the Allen County projects are set for 2027. As you know, NDOT sets a 5-year internal working document, a plan. So no, there are no projects funded at this point for construction because they don't know yet really what they want to construct beyond Allen County. That's the only known that we have at this time. And really what comes out of the Pell study, that's what will be funded, whether it's, you know, an intersection improvement or whether it's an interchange. We just don't know right now. And that's what's so critical about this time.
Well, Allen County's not till 2027. Starke County is gonna be
2050.
2050.
I mean, I don't want to put our state rep on the spot, but I did invite him to come here to see if he has anything to say, Jim. I mean,
Sure, so, I don't know, can you see me over there? No, they can't see me.
you gotta get up there. Gotta get up front.
Stand in the corner up there.
The camera's right there, pointing us, right above your head.
Jim, I know what you look like. You can
I hate talking when everybody's got my back is to you, so. So thanks for having me down here, Todd. So here's what I can tell you. I chair transportation in the House. So I know a lot about what's going on and I know very little about what's going on. So I can tell you that the coalition that's been put together has really driven this to the forefront. Allen County is going to get some improvements. They're 5 years out, right? And they're starting the queue that Lori kind of mentioned. I call it the queue. So once you're in the queue, those are projects that NDOT's going to fund. The General Assembly does not pick which projects. So I think it's important to be with the coalition, but you asked some very good questions about what do we get for our dollars. I don't know how many years has Starke County participated? 2017 was the inception of the coalition.
Yeah, I believe Starke County they were involved from the beginning, and I know they did pay dues for several years. And then it stopped.
So
We stopped this year.
okay, so you've got maybe 5-6 years into it, you're sort of 50-60 grand into it. So great question. What are we going to get going forward? What do we get for a voice, if I'm understanding your question correctly?
You're correct.
And then if NDOT's funding the Pell, aren't they the actual communications to the community versus the coalition? So I think those are all great
Because
questions.
there'll be public hearings, obviously, before they acquire any land or anything else.
Yeah.
Environmental study, that could be, who knows how long that could be. They might find a butterfly.
It's probably a couple years out, Lori, would you say? 2 years to complete that?
Sorry, yes, 18 to 24 months is what they're projecting.
And
Yeah.
then there's time after that. So there's a lot of different things going on with it. So I think important piece of the puzzle is this is all starting towards Allen County. So here's what I tell you, and this is where Jim Pressel, your state representative, is, and the chairman of transportation. I think, Lori, we've talked about this. I want to see more projects done at this end, working that way. Because I'm afraid that LaPorte County and Starke County are going to get left out when all of the big dollars get spent to the east of us, and we drive all of this traffic towards Starke County and LaPorte County. We need to have those projects done before we do the major projects. That's where I'm stuck in the mud with, and I'm gonna stay there. We need to be figuring out what's happening here and how does that impact us before we drive all of that interstate traffic back towards us and nothing happens. So that's what I'd like to see. And being a member of the coalition, and if I can get LaPorte County to, are they in again or they're out? They're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. I never know where they're at. Is LaPorte County in?
They're still members of the coalition, yes.
Are they paying members?
Are they paying?
They, I believe, have paid one, we've gotten one check from them.
Well, then I guess my point is we can be members and not pay then, obviously.
Well, and that's certainly a great point. And, you know, certainly we will have to then fund everyone along the coalition. You know, obviously what we're trying to do is come up with a system-wide project. I would also remind you that when US 31 was done, you know, there was Carmel, Kokomo, and South Bend done before some of the rural areas there. So it wasn't necessarily from one end to the other. The other thing I'd like to say is that we are advocating for a project up on State Road 49, 500 North, the only light remaining, which would then be the connector up to the toll road, which is the way the US 30 freeway would route along 30 to 49 up to the toll road. So we are advocating. We do have a project in the hopper on the west end as well. So, but I think being prepared when the Pell comes in is a big part of is coming to the plate and being able to talk about the importance of the projects in Starke County. And again, that's what we've been trying to do, trying to help. And certainly that's, to me, where there's value with the consultants that we have to try and help you through the Pell.
And I'd say that's really great. And it's important to be a part of this, to have that voice. Because it's a reality. I'm going to tell you, it's going to happen. I just don't know if it's 10 years or 20 years before that project gets to you guys or gets to us. Unless we advocate to get ours done first. And I think that's the way to do it. So as you're going up and down 31, we're doing all the infill projects. Well, we could have been doing the infill projects first while we were doing the acquisitions for getting around Kokomo. So I think that's a better solution in my mind. And that's definitely what I'm going to fight for. But this, you know, make no mistake about it, with the increased traffic projections for Highway 30, it's only going to continue to get worse. The state is going to have to get involved based on the Pell study and then the environmental. Is there a full-blown environmental after the Pell, or this is going to take the place of?
So this will take the place of part of it. So this can be considered a tier 1 EIS, and then they'll do the tier 2, which is just really fine tuning. So this is the broader look at the corridor. The tier 2 will look at individual interchanges and really define where it's supposed to be.
Gotcha. So that's my 2 cents. I think it's hugely important what's going to happen here, and it's good to be involved in it. But I don't vote to spend Starke County's dollars. I just vote to spend dollars that come this way. So it is going to be a reality. What you all choose to do with it is up to you. I think a voice at the table is better than being a meal at the table. And I would absolutely advocate for, we need to start on this end and work our way that way. And if this helps you to get in that position, then I'm all in.
Does every county pay the same amount?
Our due structure has been that way, although we are having to carry the load on this end, and we've actually voted for a supplement for just the 4 counties on this end. And the dues will be going up for those same 4 counties, but we're leaving the western counties at the current rate. So we certainly understand, that there are concerns that similar to what you all have raised tonight. But again, I would certainly say that the more we have at the table, the skin in the game, to the forefront and being certainly a good part of this Pell study, this is a time for your voice to be heard. And this is a time for you to advocate for those projects on this end. I don't think there was ever any reason to go from one end to the other than the state by themselves said, we're going to build this interchange at Flaw Road. And we felt like they couldn't just build an interchange and then move on. And that it was a perfect time for us to advocate to get this thing going wherever it ended up, wherever it started. And with that Flaw Road interchange, that became certainly the locus and focus of our discussions. And NDOT certainly agreed that you can't just do an interchange and then be done with it. Throw 200-400 more trucks a day from Amazon on the freeway, on the highway, and just not worry about what's around it. So that's how that started.
If I could add just one quick comment, just to back up a little bit, when the Allen County piece was presented to NDOT, really, we looked all along the corridor and looked at which portions were ready to present to them. So any county that had their plan together was something that was potentially going to go to NDOT for them to choose where to put the first money going out. So really knowing what you want and having a plan puts you exactly where Representative Pressel is talking about, where you can be the first to go, where other counties, if they have no idea what they want to do yet, they will fall behind.
We've already
I mean-
discussed the
I mean,
plan.
yeah,
And there's not that much that we can do.
and as far as the due structure, I'm sure Starke County has the lowest ADT of any county by far. I would say, what, Allen County and Kosciuszko, Allen's probably 5-fold, maybe more. I mean, Starke County, I don't know what the count is, it's probably 12,000-13,000 a day. I assume the ADT, it's probably 100,000 in Allen County.
I think we're the lowest miles.
Well, the lowest miles, when we had the lowest daily traffic count too, I'm positive. The Port County probably isn't much higher. Porter County obviously is, but our traffic count is not even, it's probably 10% of Allen County. And I mean, as a representative of taxpayers, you guys can do what you want, but I want to be a member of it. But right now, as far as paying for it, I'm not in one bit. If it's only me, that's fine. And I live in Hamlet. I don't like the idea of funding something else 5 counties away for years and years and years. And what do we get out of it? Maybe we get a voice, maybe we don't. That's why we have a state representative.
We paid in for quite a few years and I don't know what we've accomplished.
We pulled out,
Anything.
not this past year,
Last
the
year.
year before.
Year,
Last
yeah.
year, that's right.
So we paid in
What
for
did
a
we
long
get
time
for-
and
Yeah, for them years.
I would say the advocacy for the PEL is what you've gotten. They're going to be in your community this month, starting this process. And if not for the US 30 coalition, this project wouldn't be where it's at right now. And I understand we can't do everything in every county at once. And you're all absolutely correct. US 31 took many years and they're still not done. But I think the projects that kicked it off certainly have given that entire corridor the drive to continue till it's done. I hate to sit here and talk and jack my jaw and then say, hey guys, I gotta leave, but I got a council meeting in 3 minutes. I gotta get downstairs. I'm gonna have Lori stick around if you've got further questions. I appreciate your time tonight. Again, we'd ask that you give it a consideration. But y'all have to do what you have to do. We certainly want Starke County as a part of the coalition and I just would ask for your support.
thank you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
My thing is, I hear the switching it over, gonna make it safer. What did this do to the path?
Destroyed it. Same thing that,
What's it gonna do to Hamilton?
same thing that Old 30 did when it left Hamlet.
And it's already built,
Went down everywhere else.
I don't want that.
Well, I'll tell you right now,
I
there's
won't-
probably
I
not,
won't
there's
accept
probably not gonna be an interchange at 30 and 23. And there's probably not gonna be one at 30 in the school,
That's why I
Because-
want to stay engaged.
because of the railroad track, that's the proximity, the cost would be.
They had a
Out-
drawing at one time,
outrageous.
you're right.
Yeah, they told us
Yeah, outrageous.
when we first started it, what it would cost, because you have to go over the railroad tracks,
Fire all,
over the
it's
highway.
not gonna happen. You'd have to probably change 600 down there, we'd probably have to reroute that, or 500 a different route.
The one
Howard's
thing that we
junkyard.
talked about was doing 700. Extending 700 all the way across 30. And then you'd come into the school from there off of frontage road, but
Or an interchange in Hamilton, you come right off of there,
Right.
too. I mean. I don't
But-
know,
are they gonna put an interchange 1 mile apart? One at 35 and one at 600,
Probably not.
2 miles?
probably not. Probably not. And even the one in Hamilton would be,
When we had the meetings about this, Donnie was involved.
Yeah.
The residents that came were 100% against it. Not for it.
It didn't even benefit the fire department to know.
No, it would hurt us.
Drawing they showed.
I mean, I think this has probably had an impact on some businesses that have thought about coming to Hamilton, and I know it has. And they're like, well, we're not gonna do it because we don't know what's gonna happen. Well, we can become part of this coalition, and then 2 or 3 years, we're still not gonna know what's gonna happen, or maybe longer.
Especially if it starts on the west end.
Exactly.
Or I'm sorry,
The
the
east
east
end,
end.
yeah. And I understand that. You got 100,000 cars a day, you got 12, 11,000 here. Yeah, that makes the most sense to start there. I mean, and I know what Jim's saying too. You need to get the infrastructure built on the way in.
To make up for all the stuff that's
Yeah.
coming from there.
So I would tell you
Like,
also, with what's not happening in Hamlet, I know, because I've talked to Dave.
Yeah.
He's told me a couple different opportunities they've had, and then as soon as they hear about, we may be doing something, we don't know if there's an intersection here, well, they base all that information on, is there an intersection, is there access to my business? So honestly, that kind of works, to your favor if you're part of that conversation of that health study. So I see Hamlet getting an interchange there, and I see the one at 6 and 23, or at 23 and 30 going away. There's just not enough traffic for that. But how does that routing work out, right? So I think you want to be a part of that conversation, and especially the one at Hamlet for sure. And if you can iron that out at the Pell study, then that takes all the guesswork away from somebody that wants to be in Hamlet. It actually may help knowing that this is the type of intersection that's going to happen when it does happen. Now, that intersection may be 10 years down the road, but this is what it's going to be. And I think that's important to have.
But even when the Pell study's done, that's not gonna be any. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not gonna be a bunch of constructability. That Pell study, when it's done, they're not gonna say, okay, we're building an interchange at Hamlet. We know that's not gonna
Because
happen.
that's what the Pell study said.
Because the
No,
Pell
you-
study's not gonna say that.
It very well may say where the interchanges are being laid out. It
We
will
need to be
say,
involved- We need to be involved in that, not from a monetary standpoint, but we need to be involved because it's our county and it's our community.
Didn't they show us
that's it.
that one, Fred?
Where we told them where we wanted them.
Okay. 'Cause I
That
know there was
was-
a drawing at one time.
Dave's on there, he hasn't said anything.
That may have been when it first started.
That was in 2017, wasn't it, Lori, when we had that meeting at Oregon
Yes.
Davis? There was quite a
Yes.
few people showed up. Farm Bureau was pretty opposed to it. Right off the get-go is,
It's
you know,
been
how do we
5 years
get
already.
farm equipment from one side to the other side? And I think that's what we need to be having those conversations about, is how does that all work? Where do those interchanges take place? And honestly, if it's in the Pell study, and then when the full-blown environmental or the finish of the environmental takes place, and Lori, jump in here if I'm wrong on something. That's what this plan is gonna look like. Now, I think what you're thinking is, does that mean the state of Indiana is gonna fund that
No,
project?
no way.
immediately? And that is absolutely right. It doesn't, because it's in the Pell study, does not mean we're gonna put it in the 5-year queue.
By few or ever,
Right.
actually.
But it doesn't mean we won't.
Right.
Either. But to have that plan ready is where I think you need to be having those conversations.
and if I could add, I'm sorry to interrupt Representative Pressel if I did. You're correct in that having the Pell study done does not set a time frame for construction, but once NDOT decided to do the Pell, you can rest assured that they're going to do the work. Once they start spending that money on the environmental study, it is a commitment to go forward. And what you'll see come out of it is it a freeway through your county? Is it exactly what it is in your county? Is it somewhere in between? You'll have an idea of exactly what you're dealing with and what the future will be. And I guess I would just really stress this when we say it may not be constructed till 2050. Well, it won't be that long. It will feel like it, I'm sure, and it always does with these long transportation projects, but you're going to know what it is. That will be their plan going forward. And if you don't like it, it's going to be very hard to come in after the fact and change it. That Pell is looking at the entire corridor, not just county by county. So. I'm sorry, there's one other quick thing. Someone mentioned, there was some discussion about what NDOT would want and not want. And obviously at the end of the day, they are the ones who will construct the project. But when you look at what you want for your community, look at it from what you want, not what you think NDOT will do, because we don't know what NDOT will do. They may decide to go around Hamlet. They may go through, they may not do anything, but you need to know what is best for your community and then argue for that with NDOT.
Are there any public hearings scheduled yet?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, I think that is.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. Did you have anything else, Mark?
No.
What are you guys asking for?
I am still asking for the $12,000 for the use for 2023.
And it was 10 before, correct?
It was 5, and what 6. I mean, it's been different.
I'm not making the motion.
You can make a motion, turn it down.
I'll make a motion that we continue to be part of the coalition and to attend the public meetings and to be actively involved through our state representative and state and however we see fit. But I will not make a motion to pay the dues.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second
Second from Kay. Is there any other discussion from our board? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Starke County Economic Development Foundation. I gotta pick my daughter up here in the event, so let's make her fast.
We're back. We have our request has dropped.
I got it here. Some.
Okay. Talked to Chris Curtis today about our sign on the marquee, which in our lease says is our responsibility. He says, you guys are fantastic tenants, we will pay to have your sign replaced. So I took $935 off of the request. And then if there, we also brought Jennifer Craig here from Great News Life because there was a question about that a partnership there. And so if anybody has questions for her, she is here to answer any questions. That 2,500 is for a half a year subscription on one of the platforms. And then the laptop, we got a second quote from the county IT fellow, which is about $300 less than the one we got from Bob at Hyperwave. So we have adjusted the requested revenue.
I thought you said at the last meeting you had money in the budget for equipment.
We have an asset purchase account with $1,000 in it. If
Okay.
anything goes wrong in our office, that's what would come from that account.
So the computer's like 928,
Yes.
73.
But it's, instead of
I know there were questions for the Great New Life at our last meeting, I don't remember what they were.
I did send an email, well, I did put the other email and sent to Rachel forward to all of you that addressed some of that. So you could review.
I don't want her to come for nothing.
So you
Oh,
could
yeah, I
review.
told her for hours.
Meeting.
But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions as far as our audience demographics, who we talk to, what we do. I'm executive director. I've been there for about 9.5 years. The company itself will be 14 in March, and our whole premise is developing exclusively positive news for the communities we serve.
Anybody have any particular question for?
I mean, I'm also a Starke County resident, so if it's about the drive here, I'm not far, so don't worry.
You
We,
know,
And Mary did talk to a couple of other counties, well, two actually in the Fort County that are Ludos, and to see how they use it, how they like it, and they think it's a great way to get information out. While our piece would be economic development, there is a component that would allow us to be able to put any event for the whole county on the site so that we draw people from the site.
How do they fund it in the Fort County? Is the Fort County Council funded or is the Economic Development Foundation funded?
we've got two partnerships because they both wanted their own content. So I have one with the Economic Development Corporation itself with LEAP, and then the other with the city.
With the city, not with the Economic Development Foundation at all?
Correct. Well, LEAP, it's LEAP, so it's the
Okay,
partnership.
yeah,
The combo,
partnership,
yep.
okay.
And then the other one is the city separate from economic development. Bert Cook just likes to have these separate so he can kind of make the calls on what we do for him.
Did you have any questions, Dave? Our president's on.
Got it. Don't think you can see me, but hello, sir.
Either he had
He
a
told me he
record,
was done at 5.
either he had a record or he's sleeping. That's like he's still on there.
Lacey, you feel it's gonna benefit quite a bit, huh?
I think it
For
will
the
be
money.
a great outreach for economic development, and like she said, it's all good news stuff, it's like what's going on here and how can we draw people here, whether it's a prospect, whether it's, you know, with the event calendar,
I just think-
with things that we've got going on to bring folks in.
And it'll be up there where anybody can look
Yes.
anytime in
Yes, and one of the
the week or.
great components is they will come to 3 of our events if we do the 6
For
months.
6 months, yeah,
For
3 or 4, I will even push it to 4.
Okay.
For your guys, I want to get you guys within that 6-month frame to really see the value. So we'll be at 4 of your events in person, meaning we're gonna be there, a photographer, writer, they'll come, they photograph the event, they write an article about what that is, whatever that is, event is for you guys, that's what you guys get to decide is really like what's important on the economic development side. And we'll be there in person for those events. So, you know, Bert had us out at the economic development, chamber golf outing. He really wanted that because they had some really big companies involved. So we were there, we photographed the whole event, with about 100 photos, and then wrote an article mentioning those sponsors and things like that. Or Clarence from Michigan City has us at their forget what it's called. It's made in the Port County. So it's like their big event to talk about like the industries that are there and what they do and to teach the kids, that sort of thing. So same thing, we go, we cover the full day, we promote it out ahead of time to get the public more aware as well. And all of that's within that partnership. So we don't nickel and dime anybody. All of that's within that dollar amount. So all the press ready content you send us will be published. All of those events for the county that you want published in our event calendar, those get published. Plus, we're gonna be at those 4 events every 6 months that we work with you guys on. Or if, say, you only have 2 events, but you really want us to spotlight someone, a new company that's coming to your region, we'll do that instead, where it doesn't have to be an event per se, but it's content that we're gonna develop on your behalf. So when that Amazon building comes in or whatever it is,
Right.
you know, when you wanna spotlight that new company, we'll go do all the footwork where you just say, spotlight this company, here's the guy. We go interview that, we connect with them, schedule that, interview them, write the piece, send it to you guys, of course, for review and approval first. And then we publish that on our sites. And then, of course, we help share all of that content for our social media networks as well.
And your board's all for it.
Yeah, and we actually have a few events in mind, Start Paint, which is, we're very grateful again, the county helped us support that. We have 10 contestants for Start Paint. So it's gonna be a pretty big event. So we'd love them to come. We've checked for, you know, prices for photographers, and that's not cheap.
Right.
$2,500 for a year, for a half a year and 3 or 4 events. It's fantastic.
We couldn't afford a photographer.
This is for a year.
For that.
This is for 6
6
months.
months.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. It's
Um,
2,500.
The commissioners approved 6 months, said, let's try it, see how it works out, if it's worthwhile. And so that's what we were presenting.
I only have one question. I don't like being Debbie Downer on everything, but I have a responsibility to people who elected me. So explain to me why this isn't a part of doing business. We give you a contract. If we hire somebody to dig a hole and they don't have a backhoe, we don't fund their backhoe. I mean, explain to me how this is not part of doing business as the Economic Development Foundation.
It absolutely is. And
Okay.
As, I mean, a year ago, we were a staff of 3. So now Mary and I are a staff of 2,
Okay,
trying to do all economic development for the whole county.
okay.
And so to us, it's an assist. For instance, Manufacturers Day, when Mary and I are running around with 400 kids, trying to keep an event going, it's nice to have somebody there who.
So you said you had 3 people and you only have 2 now?
Yes,
Yes.
Well, there's one salary that's not being paid. We should either, if we're gonna fund this, we gotta get a deduction in the contract when there's one less person.
well, we also got our contract reduced by half, by the county a couple of years ago.
And part of the stipulation of that contract was to reduce, our contract was
The
reduced
board.
by half.
The board.
And we were told to, reduce our board and to also eliminate the fund staff position. So that reduction's already occurred.
I don't know. You know how I feel about it, Brad.
I know. Well, the marketing materials, that's the sign.
The sign is gone.
This, we already
Sign
bought it off.
It's the
banners. The banners were approved and some printed materials.
The banners.
We already approved that though.
But but nothing was ever signed, so everything.
Yes, you had a question about the sign, which that is
It's off.
off of here.
Okay,
and then-
so this is less than what it was.
And,
Yes.
and wasn't in the minutes. or
Okay,
not-
so it was 927 and 935.
Wasn't in the minutes that they were willing to pay up to $1,000 or $900, whatever you had in your budget for the computer?
I mentioned that we had that as a budget item,
Okay,
but so then if something, I mean, and we're happy to do that, but
but
if we have.
The only thing with that, then you'd have to come to us for every,
no,
Accusation.
they're not funded by us. There's no direct appropriation to them. They're not responsible to us for anything. They don't have to tell us any money they spend. That's
what I'm
all, that's
saying,
all.
we
up to
make her
them.
use her last.
Well, what, did you sold the property out there at the industrial park, right?
Hopefully.
Hope you haven't sold it yet, 2 acres.
It's not closed yet.
Well, no, he's talking about Renault.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, the
so-
Norton project is done. They don't lease from us anymore.
So they paid you off for that,
Correct.
right? Okay, so there was no profit out of that to do business as an economic development foundation? Or what
Sure,
happened to that money?
it's sitting there,
Okay,
absolutely sitting there, and that's what we use for buying land, for doing other
To
things that economic
reinvest
development.
And that,
But anyway, that's just,
Mary mentioned, like, this is the Great News Life Partnership. You'd spend more than that in photographers. Where would you get the money for the photographer? You never asked us for money for photographers.
that would be
something
something,
instead of doing this, we thought, what a great package
right?
to have somebody come.
And-
So-
But if you could fund the photographers, why
Well,
can't you fund us?
actually, no, we can't fund photographers, which is
We do
how
it ourselves.
Lisa and I end up running around ourselves to do it.
My phone is full of manufacturers, they from.
My phone is full of Starke tank photos from last year, and we do not have the staff resources.
my phone's full of pictures of my job too.
We do not have the staff resources this year with 10 contestants in our Starke tank to do photos ourselves. I mean, unless we get someone to volunteer to come and do that, and with volunteers, you get what you pay for.
Dave?
Yeah.
Hey, there, I can't hear you. I don't know what you guys want to do. I like to hear what Dave's got to say, but
He said you're right,
He said,
you have a good point.
Todd is right, and you have a good point as well, is what Dave said.
On record now, so.
I mean,
I don't care if it's on record or not.
we're trying to raise the county's profile and to provide a good quality product. This is something we can use on our website. This is something we can share with our local media if they're not able to be someplace. It is something that can reflect well on the entire county. But you know, we're happy to answer any more questions you might have.
Well, I see where Todd's coming from with the ground sale work. Why can't that money be used, or the other ground that was just in the process of being sold, whatever,
2 acres.
right? You know, that was, I can't remember what price was.
24,000 an acre but we have to pay, I've already paid out 3,500.
An acre is
24,000
I
total.
thought
Yeah, 24,000
24 was way high.
We have paid out $3,000 to territorial engineering, and we are responsible for all expenses, closing costs and that sort of thing. So
Probably
I don't know.
$1,000, 1,500.
So it's still gonna be close to $20,000.
You know, if I could just chime in real quick, Todd was asking.
Finally.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is that with these items, I mean, one thing I think people are trying to point out, I think I heard Brad say something as well, is just we want to make sure like some of these marketing things and some of these other things aren't redundant. And they can't be like co-sponsored by other groups. I mean, somebody brought up before, you know, about different entities, having similar things going on. So I think that's the key thing. And then the other key element is why they can't be funded by another funding source, because in government, obviously we fund on an annual basis. And so we're not really looking, long-term, because of that. So I think that's why people are raising, some questions about the money that the foundation raises. And granted, like, I think as a board, it definitely raises a question to us and not to the two of you. So I hope you don't feel like Lisa, like you're being put on the roster for this, but we definitely question your board and your leadership on why, if they're bringing in capital, why they're not funding the tools that you need to do your job. I mean, obviously we've funded some things that aren't routine things that you needed, but it frustrates me to hear that they're not funding you a laptop, for example, and that you were using your own equipment and things like that. Unfortunately, we just don't always have that, ability from the government perspective with taxpayer dollars to fund something that the organization should fund directly, is the point I think that the team was trying to make. I'm not there, so I wouldn't be making a motion and voting, but I was just trying to, I think, reiterate what I'm hearing from the discussion.
Okay, and actually, Dave, maybe I'm confused because when that $40,000 set aside was set aside for economic development purposes, for skill purposes. One of the things in our contract says that we need to work on marketing. So this is the piece that we pulled from the contract that says work on your marketing, and that's why we requested the money from the 40,000. to start with. So that's the only reason.
Understood. But as we had talked, that money wasn't put there solely for the Economic Development Foundation by any means. And here we've burned through, what, half of it already?
Is there another entity that's gonna ask for it?
Well, I don't know that.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
So this is getting, that is asking for it. And we are asking of them to market our.
Which is part of,
economic
which
resources.
is part of their contract that they signed. If the contract didn't say if we can't do our job, we'll come back to you for more money. That is not what the contract says.
No, the contract says they'll come back for that extra 40 when they find an initiative that needs that funding so that they can execute the task of marketing for it.
Well, then I think we ought to defund the 40 out of the fund. If this is what it's gonna come to, and put it somewhere else. What's left? Because,
Well, it's split between economic development and skill.
Yeah.
So who's to say that something happens at skill and they don't need it, or something big happens at your place and you need it, A big opportunity comes, we can buy this ground here.
Well, something did happen in skill when you decided not to play that. The AC.
Yeah, we don't own the building.
so something
That would be
happened,
like your AC at your house going out and us being like, well, we're gonna take care of.
something happened with skill too. They didn't take a building they could have sold for $50,000 and made $50,000.
So how many times at Christmas did you say, thank you, Grant, this wonderful gift?
Like,
I'll be able to sell this for a good amount of money.
that's different. That's a kid and a grandma. It's not somebody that's.
It's
trying-
still a gift.
What's Knox doing with it? They're selling it.
$2,500 for 6 months. Where's the next 2,500 coming from? And the next 2,500 and the next 2,500?
But if you guys.
Is that a legitimate question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess what they're after is for the rest of the year. If it works, we'll know. If it doesn't,
And
Right,
we can
yeah.
work on a funding
Then we
source.
can work on our funding source if we have 6 months to see if this is workable or not. We'll have 6 months worth of website analytics, 6 months worth of data.
And we create a full recap as well at the end of the 6 months. You'll get a full book of recap of what we created, how it did online, social posts, all of that stuff to really kind of, for a board, that's exactly why we do it, for the boards that we work for, or any other groups that we work on behalf of, they'll get a whole.
And we can take that to potentially our board and ask them to reallocate some funds or something like that. And again, Carla Musial is our treasurer. She will be happy to sit down with any of you and go line by line through our budget. She has made that offer numerous times.
I guess. Has this stuff went to the board? To see if you can get the funding for this from,
Well, we did our budget in June, and so it was approved, so, I mean, like I said, there is $1,000 in asset purchase for potentially a laptop. But there's no like extra money sitting in marketing or that sort of thing.
so this would be something that for 2023,
Yes.
you would have to budget.
Right, absolutely.
And, you know, we've found ways to save money in other areas. For instance, with our phones, we got rid of CenturyLink and we are using Hyperwave with the voice over IP phone system. It's saving us
Over $100.
over $100 a month.
So if we funded the 20, was it $2,500?
Yes.
So does that 6 months start from right now, or is it the rest of the
Start
year?
from whatever you guys would like. So we can
Okay.
get someone up as fast as I've done 3 days. Because we, build your profile and all that stuff,
So-
for Andrew on our site. So it's completely up to you.
So with
But it's
this,
6 months total, it's not.
Correct.
It's
Yeah, you can't break
August,
it up.
it's
It
not
does
till the
have
end.
to run consecutively.
so then with this service that you're proposing to provide, the county outside of the Economic Development Foundation will have access to place things.
They'll be able to
as well.
send it to us. They won't post them themselves, but
Okay.
basically anything that comes through the economic development partnership with us will publish. So that can be, as long as it's approved by these ladies or whoever kind of I work for, then yeah, definitely. So
Well,
then they can.
seems as
publish
though
all
we're
of it.
Working for us,
Working
good for us. Working for us if we fund it.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's that sort of stuff, the publishing of events and things like that, those are pretty unlimited for you guys, and it'll just bring our 86,000 people to your event on as well.
But for instance, I mean, this is just the best example I can pull off the top of my head. When the park board and the county government was working together on the Veterans Memorial. If there was some sort of content that was, a news release going out from that organization. They could, if this partnership had been in place, they could have given it to us. And we as the partner would send it to Jenny's organization and it would be published on the SCEDF page on that organization's website.
And then whatever section as well. So it won't just go to that page and get buried in the news. It does have its own section, and then it will go into that section. Economic development of Michigan City is a great example. They just opened their new Kia over the weekend. And so they sent us the release to let us know. I don't work with that Kia dealership, but it's a release coming from them. So we publish it on their behalf, even though it's all about a business that doesn't pay me a dime. But then we actually, at their request, were at that event, took a picture of the ribbon cutting and all of that for them, because that Kia dealership was something they asked us to be a part of. So same for you guys, that could look like whatever really is important to you guys on the economic development side.
My question is still. We funded for 6 months. Who's gonna take over the next 6 months,
We
the
will-
next 6 months?
We will find a funding
That's
source.
I mean, are you asking us to fund this one time or
Yes.
for,
One time, see how we like it,
Yes.
and actually next time our budget comes around, we can make sure there's a line item for it. And it's already allocated and we would not have to ask the county for it again.
And I would go out on a limb and say it's at that time, they'll figure out how to use things like the revenues from those recent sales to fund it in perpetuity. That's part of
Because
why,
honestly, I
that's
mean,
part of why
Norton didn't,
as an overall package, the Board of Commissioners was okay with approving what they were requesting.
And the Norton deal actually didn't even take place. The closing on that was after our fiscal year ended June 30th. So our budget was already done. Yeah, that was not even incorporated in our budget.
Okay, here's what I got to say about the whole thing, and then I'm gonna shut up. I don't necessarily have a problem with trying this $2,500 thing from the standpoint of it's gonna benefit the county, and I understand where you're coming from. I guess what kind of irks me a little bit is that you have to wait to go back to your board at budget time. Well, if anybody needs money for us anytime, they come in here and ask for us all year long. It doesn't matter if it's budget time. There's additional appropriations, we all know that. That's fine. I'm okay with going along with that $2,500. The computer, absolutely not. You guys already said the marketing material, I'm still absolutely not on that. If you guys, we can make separate motions or whatever, because I will not vote for the marketing.
Were you making a motion for the
the
2,500?
marketing has already been, approved. So that's
Already
off the
approved.
table.
Okay, good, okay, I voted no for it, I'm sure.
We'll get to
You
that.
did.
All right, good. Just want to make sure.
I'd like to make a motion.
Howard?
I'd like to make a motion and I'd like to make this specifically in this motion. That we would allot $2,500 to the Great News Life Partnership. For a one-time trial basis, that if it is positive, the Economic Development Board should and look for a way to create the 2,500 out of their own budget in the future. This is a one-time expenditure of $2,500 to the Great News Life Partnership. After that would be up for further discussion. And recommended by the Starke County Council that the Starke County Economic Development Foundation find a way through their own budget after the first 6 months to fund it on their own.
I'll second that, believe it or not.
I have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, I need one right now.
We don't need another motion for the 927 since we already did it. Okay. Anything else for economic development?
So.
I think I believe now there's like no misunderstanding, like the 40,000 ain't there
Just to keep paying this.
you know, but. And I think it was just a little misunderstanding.
Well, I mean,
If nothing against you girls.
Right, well, and it's never been done before with the set aside, and in the future, maybe it's not the best idea to have this $40,000
Right.
aside. Perhaps, rather than doing it like that, maybe just throw it into our contracts for skill or foundation, a little bit extra, so we don't ever, I mean, not so we don't ever have to come back, but
I
So we
can't
don't-
promise that, but
sure, we don't have to approach you guys every.
Brad? We need to make a motion about. The laptop.
Somebody made a motion to approve it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay,
Unless somebody wanted to.
no, I'm just gonna make one not approve it.
We tried to get one through the county, but
Make a
apparently they're not
Approve the laptop?
available, so.
just one time, that's what they're saying, talking to them. That they know that,
Well, but they said in the last meeting, they had $1,000 they could have put towards the laptop. And this,
Last us a year for
and this is only $900 something, so.
But if you run out, there's a board meeting almost every other
every
month.
other month.
Or you could call an executive board meeting and you could ask for more money.
Okay, so
You can still purchase that laptop.
I was going to say the point of clarification,
Yes.
because we still order that through county IT.
Yes.
Okay, because that's a better price than even our IT person was able to get.
I still got a motion, but
Brad,
Perfect.
you've got a motion?
I still got a motion if we.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
If we approve that laptop.
I have a motion to approve the laptop purchase from Donnie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Don?
Yeah.
Can I clarify, does that include the laptop setup too?
No, but just the laptop.
Just the laptop, okay.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by aye. You guys made a motion in a second. All those against,
Nay, or yay,
whichever, how many was that? 3 of you?
3 nays.
Motion does not pass. I had 3 nays. And 2 yeas.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, we don't have that. I just said everything. This. Okay. Still reading.
Next thing on the agenda, I'll open up the public hearing for the Starke County budget for 2023. Public comment, what are you doing now?
Solid waste.
Oh, start down. I mean, you're
Yeah.
opening the public hearing for start, not solid.
So,
Goes over.
hearing nothing from the public, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing for Starke County.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing for Starke County.
Okay. Hold on.
You need to pay attention.
Who was the motion? No.
I didn't have a close.
Need a motion. Need a motion.
It's public order.
Once again, I've been here longer. And my motion to close. Okay,
Yeah, I'm good.
you're good now? Okay. Open the, that's at the bottom.
Okay, I'm not.
Open the public hearing for the budget for 2023 for solid waste. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close. I'm on the board, so I'm not gonna.
I make a motion to close.
Motion by Howard, second by Donnie. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed. And North Judson Sanpere Schools.
They're here.
Did you guys want to talk about something?
They've been
since you've
here
been
all
here?
night.
Come on, Annette. You've been sitting there so quiet. Just happy to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
here you are.
I would have put you guys at the top, but I didn't make the order, so.
That's okay.
Does anybody from public have any comment on the North Judson Sanpere School budget for 2023? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing for North Judson Sanpere School.
Motion by Todd, second by Kay. All those in favor, signify by aye.
And just as a note, normally you would have the Starke County Airport, but they did not turn in their Form 3 in time. So they will not have their public hearing until your September meeting, and the budget won't be approved till the October.
Okay. The sheriff vehicle request, just if anybody doesn't know, they found Dodges that they can get right now for like $400 a car more. They're gonna fund the $400. So we've already approved. I can't remember the actual, yeah, 77,000 something. We didn't specify what kind of car it had to be, so
They're not gonna come back, say they need a bunch of new lights for just a Dodge, right?
that doesn't seem to be our problem.
You're right. Good question. Brackets and depth. Yeah.
That was in, that they were funding all that
Okay.
before, so.
And their extra funding, is that coming, that's not coming out of their vehicle repair budget, right?
Yeah, commissary,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's not full. It's actually quite warm. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty adamant about four, that's right.
Ready to tell you no?
Don't be taking long, please.
I'm gonna take forever now.
Let's be honest.
And I'll make a motion right now, then.
No, I guess the first few employees that I hired, I did wrong. I didn't realize that it went from the bottom lowest pay to the top pay in 90 days with nothing in between. So I guess what I'm asking is for the council to give me free reign to do
give raises as I see fit on my employees,
For your part-time.
for my part-time employees.
Oh, this is part-time? I thought this was for the
I do
full-time.
too.
It's
No,
not,
no. It's a part-time pay increase.
I couldn't get it.
On your agenda.
I couldn't get it
I'm
my
not
county
asking
email.
for, I'm not asking for the top pay to be any more than what it already is now. I want the free will to give raises between the lowest paid and the top pay as I see fit. Right now, I want to do at the beginning and 30 days, 60 days, and then top pay at 90 days because
How would you have it? right now? Since your last approved, I think it was 2017. They start out at the bottom pay, unskilled is what it's called. After 90 days, they go up to the skilled rate.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's what it says. So she wants to make.
See, I
Or
thought we
newer.
changed it since then.
That's the way it's written.
Hey,
like
Brad.
that for-
We kind of did the same thing with the PGA lady, we hired her. We thought we could bring her in for the 13, 15, or whatever it is. Mother told we couldn't. But she was hired in thinking that, and she'd already said that. She hasn't came to me and said she could quit, but I mean, it's going around the office, but I mean, she's there, you know what I mean?
So that's what the policy is. Unskilled, certain rate, after 90 days goes to skilled. That's what I've been following when I've been telling them, no, you can't pay them that amount.
And the starting is 11
Oh,
1107, I think.
to 13, 15. No, we did make an exception for the last meeting for the,
Park
for the,
board.
for the park board because they could not get help. And he could not get help at $11 an hour. And
Cans of worms that opened up.
You're right, Brad. It opened up a big can of worms.
They're self-funded.
They are, you're right.
They're self-funded.
I hate to change. I mean, we got in the county like that, nothing against you or your worker. Just hate to change.
I just
And
think
we open
that
up
it
one
should-
with,
Wouldn't we have to rewrite the salary ordinance or what?
Problem is, guys, I only had one person come in and put
Or
an
amend it.
application in for this.
does she know what it was?
Right,
when she come in?
We told
Yeah.
them the $13, and that's what it would be, because that's what the last part.
It's already in the salary. ordinance, That unskilled is the skilled. is
Our
the-
I think our budget's still there for Mary, anyway, you know
That's fine.
what I mean?
We
But
just have to change when you think go to skilled. Right now, it's after 90 days.
I just want, I think that the department head should be able to give raises in 30 days, 60 days if the employee is going above and beyond. What, $11 and. Whatever, it's 63 cents or
Is that a
whatever.
motion, Doc?
What the, yep.
What was the motion? I don't know.
To leave it the way it is.
I mean, it's in writing like that.
I have a motion from Donnie to leave the salary ordinance the way it is. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Howard. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Were you,
Yes.
your aye?
Yeah.
It was unanimous to leave it the way it is.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, now this is gonna be the East part of the meeting. We've all had a chance to look at the minutes from, I don't know when, because they've already made their way to the other end of the table.
It's
From our July meeting, whenever that was.
Yeah.
Are there any additions or corrections for the minute? From July 18th? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion to approve July's minutes as written.
A motion from Todd, and second from Donnie. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a good thing because they had all already signed them, so.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay, there's a couple things to clean up. There's a transfer for EMS. They need to transfer from extra help into software for the software contract that we approved. In the amount of $20,600. I don't care. Go ahead. You want to talk.
This is the transfer because that we hired Acumed, so instead of getting another part-time person in there, when Mary Lynn left, Nancy took over Mary Lynn's spot, instead of getting another part-time, you guys decided that that part-time money would pay for Acumed,
Which is the bill, so,
which is the billing software.
yeah,
Okay.
I remember that. Believe it or not.
Right.
I'm not even voting for it.
So is that your motion?
Do I have a motion to approve the transfer?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the transfer to Stark County EMS for $20,600.
I have a motion from Todd, second from Kay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All eyes.
And we have one more. This is the recorder. She needs to transfer $55.89 into office supplies from mileage.
I make the motion that we make the transfer from all.
Motion from Howard, second.
I'll second it.
Second from Todd. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All of it. Is there any other business
You have spreadsheets in
to
front
come
of you
before the county?
showing the ARPA funds we have spent so far this year.
Sorry. Do you have anything, Jim? Any good words or
Well, we're not in session, so that's a great thing.
for you?
It is. I enjoy being back in Starke County. Looking forward to one of the big discussions we're gonna be having, if you haven't already heard it from AIC, is to how to, I don't want to use the term cap, but I don't know how else to say it. So don't think of it like a property tax cap, but how do we slow down the pace of property taxes? So a lot of my constituents, I'm sure a lot of yours, have said, hey, property taxes are out of control because we use a market-based system. So as long as houses continue to go up, we're putting folks on a limited income and seniors especially out of their houses. These are houses that they've had for years and years and years. They've paid it off and to no fault of their own. They're to that point where they can't afford to pay the taxes. So we are going to work really, really hard on trying to figure out how do we help the constituency without hurting you guys here at the local level. So all property taxes obviously stay local. So we just need to figure out how do we bridge that gap. And I know we're gonna be having a lot of conversations, so my phone's always on. So when we go in January and you see the first ugliest, nastiest bill, and you think it's really gonna cut your budgets, I need to hear from you. And how can we come up with a solution for that?
So in addition to the property tax caps that are already in place,
Yeah, that's why I hesitate to say cap.
because
So,
we already have that.
right, we do have a property tax cap. So one of the things that I had promoted about 2 years ago, evidently it was too simple of a process. I couldn't get a hearing with it. But if you think of my property taxes, 65 and older, I'm on a limited income. I only have Social Security. I didn't plan really, really well for my retirement, but my house is stable. And I can stay there and I can live out my life in that house, God willing. So my property taxes were $1,000. And because the neighborhood got better and the assessed values went up everywhere else, mine's gonna go up by no fault of my own. And let's say it goes up to $1,200, just so I keep the math simple for me. So you take that $200 and you hold it almost like as a deed restriction. You satisfy the amount of taxes not paid upon the sale of the house or it goes into an estate. Before that property can transfer, you got to satisfy what's built up. And you could do it as an option, get into it if you want to. I think when I drafted that bill, I set the value of the house at $280,000. You had to be 65 and older, and you could have an income of, I think it was $50,000. So you're kind of like postponing that addition. So the local unit remains whole. You're still getting the same amount of dollars that you were getting at $1,000. And eventually it will start a flow of additional dollars coming into the local unit. So the big pushback is, the value of the dollar today versus the value of the dollar in 5 years. But it's an opportunity for those folks to take advantage of it if they truly can't afford that. And I couldn't get a hearing. So I'm bringing it back. That's one of the solutions that I'd like to promote for it, but we have to do something. And that's gonna be a big one. Road funding, we're talking about US 30. Road funding is still gonna continue where it's at right now. Some of the projects that we're gonna be doing in Fort and Starke County. Coming up in that 5-year queue, and we're getting some good things coming back. Community crossings, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on community crossings, but we can use more of it. So I'm gonna promote, since I chair transportation, I'm gonna create 2 tiers. So $1 million for under class 3-6. Secondary tier, it would be $5 million for class 1, 2, and 3 cities. So that leaves a bigger pot for the smaller units. And then we have to have those conversations about, we still have enough money for matches. So part of the problem I'm hearing through community crossings this year specifically, costs of materials have gone through the roof, cost of labor, getting the materials. So some of the projects that may have qualified, all of a sudden there's a cost overrun on it, and NDOT's going, well, you can't kick anything extra, and we can't kick anything extra, so we got to take you into the next cycle. And then you get less roads fixed. So we got to fix that problem. And that's an administrative code that needs to be worked on. So I'm trying to get all those dollars back here that we can get. But happy to take questions, anything you want me to be working on. God says less government. I like it.
You're right.
Perfect. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Nope. Do you have anything?
Do I have anything? Elections is right around the corner.
Thank God.
Your letters went out today, right?
My letters did. Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Good.
Motion by Todd, second by Connie. All in favor, single back.
Great. And employees still turning mileage.
Just solid.